of you know, my name is Joyce Raimondo. I am the education coordinator at the Pollock-Krasner House and Study Center in East Hampton. We're a national landmark, and we are the home and studio of Jackson Pollock and Lee Krasner. And as part of our educational program, we offer virtual programs, and this is a virtual art tour at the Bridgehampton Museum Tractor Barn. And we have a wonderful artist and production designer with us today, John El Manahi. Say hello.
Hi, everybody.
And we are so fortunate. We're going to have a tour of his amazing paintings that were used as for the set production of the film The Artist's Wife. And so we have a lot to cover today about the film, about his art, and also about John himself. And we'll tell you a little bit about this amazing site located in Bridgehampton. It is on the east end of Long Island. It's about, let's say, 90 miles east of New York City. Okay? So I just want to formally introduce John El Manahi. He is a fine artist and production designer who has been working in the field for the past 30 years. He spent 1992 to 1995 at the Accademia of Belle Arts in Florence, and he is an alumni of California State University in Los Angeles. And in addition to working as a production designer, he has continued painting and sculpting, which you'll see. He was born and raised in New York, just like me, and currently lives on Long Island. So we are qualified New Yorkers, John. Okay.
Yes.
So, John, before we start the tour of this wonderful exhibit, can you tell us a little bit about the Tractor Barn and how this exhibition came to be?
So I was put in communication with Tim Malik. He's a curator at the Bridgehampton Museum. And I told him that I had these paintings. We were introduced by a mutual friend. And so he expressed interest in putting an exhibition together and benefit for Alzheimer's research. It took about a year for us to put this together. But this tractor barn wasn't even built when we proposed the exhibition. He had this space, on the premises. And along with the Bridgehampton Museum proper, they built this and put it together for a special exhibition space of, various artworks of local Long Island East End artists.
Mhm. And for those of you who are not familiar with this barn and its location, but if you are on Long Island, it is located across the street from Candy Kitchen in Bridgehampton, right off Montauk Highway. So look for Candy Kitchen. That's the restaurant that a lot of people know. And you just right down the street, you'll see the barn. Okay. So for the sake of context, John, can you tell us a little bit about the film The Artist's Wife and how and we will get to the paintings in a moment. But I understand these paintings were produced for the film. You were the production designer. So tell us a little bit, give us some context for the works before we start the
Okay.
tour.
So I was put in touch with Tom Dolby, the director of the film, and he was making a film about an older abstract expressionist and his wife and his struggle with his decline due to Alzheimer's. His wife, played by the artist was played by Bruce Dern, and his wife, played by Lena Olin, is an artist in her own right, though never fully realized her true, vision as an artist. And so she helps him complete his last exhibition. So I was brought on due to my fine art background, and as a production designer, I've designed over 25 films, feature films. And so I was brought on due to my fine art background. So in my conversations with Tom Dolby, we realized that, we really needed somebody who was knowledgeable about that period of art. And so, it just seemed like a good fit. So in designing the film, I had to create a lot of artwork. So I reached out to certain, local artists and, artists that might fit the narrative of the film. But we really weren't able to find any one artist with a cohesive style that would encapsulate Richard, played by Bruce Dern, and Claire, and their combined artwork. So in the end, I just created the paintings myself because I knew very intimately the narrative of the film and the style that I was going for and what I thought these paintings should look like.
Now, what I would like to do is I'm going to do a walkthrough, just brief, so you can get an idea of what these paintings look like. Then I'm going to show you the trailer, so you get a little bit of an idea of the film. The film is about a fictitious artist. It's not a true story, okay? And then we will have a guided tour by John, where he'll go into detail about his process and some of the other aspects of his creativity, okay?
Why do we paint? We paint because we have no choice.
We're talking with the American painter Richard Smithson and his wife, Claire. So what's next for you two?
Well, I create the art. She creates the rest of her life. How about you?
The things I love the most about him still love his arrogance, his ego.
It's not a painting unless you leave a piece of yourself on the canvas.
He's been behaving so strangely for months. What are you doing?
I don't think I'm sure what this is all about.
They're honoring you. You're getting an award.
I didn't know what to say. I didn't write anything down. All I can tell you is what's going on with me.
It never occurred to you?
He'll have these moments where he's just so himself. And then he vanishes.
Damn it!
Richard, look at me. I do want to help you.
You never became a painter.
Because I was too busy supporting your career.
It's very hard to look inside and paint what's all gone.
Are you painting again? You were always such a sensitive artist. I always envied your decision to step away.
You don't see anything different?
I see something different, Richard,
What
and
is
it's
it?
you.
You can't paint. You never really tried. Paint what breaks your heart, what you can't get back.
Okay, so great movie. I just saw it the other night. And can you tell us where people can stream this movie? Do you know offhand?
Well, I believe it's on Amazon Prime and maybe a couple of other ones. It might be on Hulu as well. But we're having a special screening this Saturday in the gallery here as part of a fundraiser for Alzheimer's research. And there's a sale of the paintings also to benefit Alzheimer's research and treatment. And yeah, so I'm pretty sure you could find it on any streaming platform as well. Mhm.
What I did is if you go to Prime, actually now I remembered, and then you can subscribe to the channel of independent films, and it's a free month. 1 month is free for the subscription. So that's what I did. And I think you'll really enjoy this movie. We talk a lot about the creative process, and it's also a love story, and it's also part of it is set right out here on the East End of Long Island. So to me, it all looked very familiar. Now, I forgot to do the walkthrough. Let me do the quick overview, and then we'll get back to the specifics here. And these are large-scale paintings. And when you watch the film, you'll see this particular style is the wife's style. And as we've discussed in many of our Zoom programs, these are in the style of abstract expressionism. They're very physical. They're scraping and dripping and blending, and they're very physical and very large scale. And some of them, which is hard to see on Zoom, like this one, this is three-dimensional. That is a piece of some sort of fabric that was glued onto the canvas, and John will tell you about that in a moment. And John also set up this little setup over. Tell us about this little setup before we start, because I really like this actually.
So I made a little set over here with some props. These are all my own brushes and old paints and stuff like that. We put this painting on an easel, partly out of wanting to display it, but not knowing how to hang it. So I told Tim Malik to get an easel and then a small table. And then I brought props and brushes over to make it like a little part of a movie set.
No, it's fun. So where would you like to start, John?
Let's start over here with Richard's work, or we could actually start right where we are, turn around here. So this is an example of Richard Smithson's work. It's a middle period. I consider it like a middle period Richard. And this is called The Garden. And it's basically, it plays as a moment where his career is starting to blossom, right? So I created this painting called The Garden, which kind of gives an example of his, where he's heading and his direction as an artist. And this is like a middle period piece. And I really just wanted it to feel like, give it like a floral and a very vibrant aspect. So that's why the palette is brighter and less muted than some of his other work. This painting over here, this is also an example of that. This is called City of Gold. And this is also about Richard's rising popularity and his recognition in the art world as an artist. And this is also, again, I just wanted to give this aspect. We have strong gestural marks, which is more in line with Richard as an artist, very passionate, very physical, very fierce. So I really wanted his work to have that strong gestural quality. So this is like a middle period, and the other one was a middle period Richard Smithson.
Can I ask you a question, John?
Yeah.
Now, how did you kind of organize this mentally in your own mind, like these different periods? Like, did you set out and say, okay, well, I'm going to make 12 paintings and each one is going to be like, how did you conceptualize?
So I really just kind of put myself as Richard, as the artist, because, so what I imagined is his early work was a little bit more passion and less brain, just a little bit more impulsive, spontaneous, which is in line with what a younger artist would probably, be more drawn to, especially from that period. I put Richard at about 1952, is where he's like a later period abstract expressionist. And so I really wanted his work to have this classic abstract expressionist motifs, but also to really give him his own identity, which is really my identity as an artist. These are really works that are my work, but I really I treated it as like almost like an exercise in impersonating and, like creating a fictitious artist, Yeah,
It's actually a really interesting concept in general, the idea of sort of channeling this fictitious artist through yourself.
yeah. I had to do that with him, Claire, and then a combination of both their work. But if we go to the end here, these are earlier period Richard pieces, except for the middle one. So these are like early, this is called the Bareback Rider. And this is, I wanted to have this idea of of an unbridled, raw energy, kinetic painting made by an artist who is really emerging. And the character of Richard is one that is very anti-establishment, very anti-traditional in terms of what society might expect of him. He's a bit of a rebel. And so he has this reputation in the movie of being this kind of wild man of, abstract expressionism. So I really wanted this piece to just be pure gesture, primarily. And so this is considered an early Richard Smithson.
Yeah, really beautiful.
Thank you. This piece over here, these are two pieces. They're called the Bridge 1 and Bridge 2. And I consider these works to be where Richard is transitioning between his early style and his more mature style, which develops over the course, of his career. But we don't really see all of his work in the movie. We just see specific pieces here and there. So this is called, a bridge painting. I started to bring in some more vibrant color here instead of the more muted one of the Bareback Rider, which leads us more to the paintings like The Garden and The City of Gold. So I started to bring in some other color, and this is called the bridge to mean it was a transition in his work.
Well, I just want to tell everybody, these paintings are incredible. When I came in here today, I had never seen them other than in the movie. And these are artworks in their own right. They're not just props. Now, tell us a little bit about your process when making an individual painting. Like, how do you start? Do you have an end idea in mind? Like this one, for example, did the colors emerge? Did you have a what's your process?
So the way I usually paint, and I do this in my own work, is I really start with an intuitive feeling of, even if I'm doing watercolors or oil paintings tend to be a little bit more studied or a little bit more thought out. But when I use acrylic paints or watercolors, I generally start with fields and fields of color or fields of activity, and then that with some gestures. So I usually have like a mark here, a mark there, and I try to create some balance that evokes the feeling that I'm trying to portray, and for these, I was really just caught up in the idea of Richard painting these paintings, like really just wanting to be what I imagined an abstract expressionist from the 40s or whatever, is discovering this work and the excitement and the passion that they're bringing to it, and also the transcendental aspect of it all. Because for me, that's really where my work draws from. It really draws upon this connection between my physical space and my spiritual and mental condition. And I try to create a balance.
Now, in terms of your tools, because we're going to do a program later today, just coincidentally called Make Your Mark, and we're going to explore mark making in art and not just using a brush. What tools did you use? Did you use your fingers?
No, I use brushes primarily and palette knife. I like the knife a lot. That's generally how I get some impasto over here. It's all with knife work. And I mix a lot on the palette and I know exactly what I'm going to do, like, so it's really hard to explain to people who aren't really, who've never seen abstract painters before, but it's not as haphazard as one might think. There's a certain amount of intention that you put into it when you want to create a work like this. You can't just like do whatever, and have it turn out. So,
No, not at all.
Mhm.
In fact, Jackson Pollock said there are no mistakes. Like he was very intentional when he painted, but an artist who's mastered the material then can be free to improvise, right? Just like a great jazz musician.
Exactly. Okay, so all right, so these are pretty much Richard. Oh, this one here. So this is called The Accusation. And this painting plays a very pivotal and central role in the film. It was painted with after Claire, played by Lena Olin, uh, accuses or discovers that Richard has had an affair with one of his students. And so it's called The Accusation. And there's a certain amount of narrative within it. So it's a remnant of the dysfunction of their relationship.
No, it's really, really amazing how, like, the red to me is like the passion. And then it's like that black is cutting through, like
Yeah.
when it's like an abrupt change. I'm wondering if you don't mind me asking, you must be a very empathetic person, are you? Because
I try to be.
I think because the way you're describing, you understand the way these characters feel. You can imagine the way the abstract expressionists felt. And I'm just wondering, like, you almost sound like you could be an actor.
Well, I mean, it's not my vocation. I have been in some films that I've done, but yes, I try to be empathetic. I mean, I think if we're creative people, we have to have a certain amount of sensitivity, and there's a certain amount of getting outside yourself. I think it's important for artists to I guess tap into the emotions that are around them and maybe, the emotions, of the world at large. I don't know, be, instead of getting too political about it, I think it's really every artist's journey, to find what their creative source is, Okay, so now we're on Claire. And so these pieces of Claire, it's played by Lena Olin. We should start here. This is called Broken Chains. And this is Lena Olin discovering her own freedom in painting, her freedom from Richard. It's a metaphor for what's happening in the film. She's trying to reestablish herself and her creative expression. And so this was called Broken Chains. It starts out in a montage where she is on the bus after visiting an exhibition by an artist played by Stephanie Powers. We also had to do that artwork as well of modern art or conceptual art. And she's sketching in her notebook and she's doing these circular, semicircular patterns. So I wanted that to be the motif for her work. So it morphs. So this is where it starts, where the circles are never fully, they're all open. So it's really called Broken Chains for that reason. This piece here, this is called Change is Inevitable. And this is a similar kind of idea. It's starting where she is now beginning to access her inner world in a real substantial way. And she is drawing upon not only her origins as an artist that never got fully realized, but now stepping into this idea that she is becoming what she was truly meant to be, which is an established artist in her own right. And so this is where that painting comes from.
Did you come up with this concept of broken chains or these like sort of pathways before you made the paintings in this case?
You know, it was really in the process of making them. That's how they occurred to me, and I titled it after that, after I made them. I didn't start out with the idea I'm going to make a painting called Broken Chains. I'm going to do this. It was really more about tapping into Lena Olin's process the same way I did Bruce Dern's, as this an artist who is on the verge of discovering. There's some work here, there's some work of hers that isn't in the gallery, and it is more immature, I guess, or what's a better word than immature? It's
developed.
just earlier. You know, I don't want to put a pejorative on it. It's just not fully realized. So I have some work of hers that could be called like a student work or like college student work. And that work is a little bit derivative, in my opinion, like of Lee Krasner. I tried purposely to kind of give her a Lee Krasner, Helen Frankenthaler origin. But then I really created her work as her own, you know, her own expression. So this work here, this is the beginnings of her creating her real work. This is actually a later work that is part of the exhibition of Richard's final exhibition. And I consider it a union of Richard and Claire's style. This is called Prodigal Son. And this is where Richard has come back to his, I guess, the embrace of his wife. There's reconciliation here, you know? So that's that work. The other works over here, these are what the exhibition of Richard's and paintings, but these are made with the narrative where Alzheimer's plays a real role in it. Richard has an episode and he destroys their furniture. He rips it apart and he's trying to decoupage it onto some canvas unsuccessfully. So this was the first one of those pieces. And Richard, you know, shreds his own painting and Claire saves it with duct tape and gluing on some of the fabric pieces. This is called Bleeding Heart. And this is like where the origin of the family dynamic starts. This is where this red shape is either Claire or Richard. I'm kind of calling it Claire. And these darker shapes are the Alzheimer's infiltrating their life, basically. So that's this piece. This piece is called Estrangement. And this is Claire and Richard separated by the Alzheimer's as, you know, creating two, you know, irreconcilable planes, basically. They cannot cross over. So they are separated by the disease, basically. And so in this piece, this is truly where Richard and Claire's work is in complete chaos. There's Richard's marks and Claire's shapes and the gluing of their fabric of, you know, which is the fabric of their lives, essentially. This is where their lives are starting to fall apart. And Claire, through the art, is now trying to come to terms with it.
Now, did you read the script?
Yeah.
And then you made the painting.
Yes.
And then the scene was filmed.
Yes.
So you had to kind of visualize what that slashing looked like, or?
Well, it was always scripted, and then we had all this designer furniture and all this mid-century modern, masterpiece furniture in the house. So we had this red chair and some other stuff. And what I did was I got rolls of the material and had fabric cushions made that would fit. And so they could shred it and it would look like they were shredding a mid-century thing. And then I just used all the fabric to decoupage. That was always the intention.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. I'm going to get a close-up look here. And actually, I made a mistake. Later in the afternoon, I think we're going to do the program about texture in art. And this is a great example of texture. This sort of almost, you could see the fabric coming through because there's paint on top of it. You see the threads here. You see the edge of the torn fabric. There's so much texture in this painting. This part here, the black is like shinier. This is matte. So this is a really great example of texture in art. And then you also have painted texture, which is incredible, like over here. This is all like, how did you get that? You stamped it or you watered it? What is it?
It's just multiple layers of paint, painted with a brush, a little splatter, and then a little bit of knife work to smear it out. Some of the paint is a little bit watery, some of it is a little thicker. So that's how you get a little bit of translucence and transparency in the paint is you dilute it.
Yeah.
So
And then over here, you did this with the brush? Stamping.
yes, I believe that's with a brush, yeah.
Yeah, no, this is a great example of texture in art. And here, it looks like you used a palette knife right
Yes.
here. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
This work is called the Minotaur, and this is where the disease of Alzheimer's has completely eclipsed their lives. The red is the family, dynamic, Richard and Claire, and the daughter played by Juliet Rylance. And if you notice, the red is now more muted. It's not as vibrant. So, and this big black shape is this monster basically in the center of the maze, which is a metaphor for Richard's mind. So this big shape is now dominating their, family dynamic, which is just really creating this chaos. So this is again an example of Claire really trying to bring their family under control, and come to terms with the emergence of Richard and his, his decline. This piece is called Family Squabble. And this is Claire, Richard, and Juliet Rylance in the midst of a dynamic between the disease of Alzheimer's and their own, separateness from each other, their distance from each other. So again, I tried to use these fabric pieces. This is like supposed to be leather, like their leather sofa. And these are, again, shreds of their life. So I basically, created this dynamic. I mean, this is probably my favorite painting that I have here. This one and the Minotaur, I think, are the strongest pieces here.
They're all amazing.
Thank you.
Now, John, tell us about, you mentioned your own experience with your dad who had Alzheimer's. Did that help you as you were creating these, or?
So my father, he had dementia. He didn't have full-blown Alzheimer's, but he recently passed away. And I saw his decline, which really just, this movie was done, well, when my father was still healthy and everything. But Tom Dolby, his father, suffered from Alzheimer's, and this is where that, this labor of love came from. This whole movie was really about that. And watching my father decline really gave me an understanding of what people go through to watch their loved ones, um, go through this and watch everything that they have about who they are just vanish, and it's tragic. I mean,
really
when my father passed away, uh, I was so sad at the loss of who he was as a person, for a long time. So,
Yeah. I think that obviously this film and the exhibit and the paintings, you're tackling a really, really difficult subject, and one that's not, it's not often represented in films, except for there was one movie with the red-haired actress, what was her name? And I think she played someone who had Alzheimer's, but it's very rare. And I really appreciate that you brought this literally to light in the movie. And I would imagine even people hearing this talk or seeing the artworks, if they're struggling with someone who has Alzheimer's or has Alzheimer's themselves, that it probably would give people comfort in a way, like hearing that they're not alone. This is just, maybe I'm wrong, but it does create a sense of connection and empathy, in my opinion, that the struggles you're mentioning, like the relationship and how you expressed it in the painting and the darkness of that image, and then reconciliation of the relationship, all of these things, I don't know, I think it could be helpful for people. What do you think?
uh, yeah, I hope so. I mean, it's a it's a common problem. It's a universal problem for all of us who have older parents or who are getting older ourselves. And we have, you know, loved ones. And when we see them decline and we have to care for them, it turns into more than just a labor of love. It becomes like, a struggle that, and in some cases, a nightmare because we, love our family, but we don't want to see them degraded. We want them to have dignity. We don't want them to be left to suffer. But then the amount of energy it takes to actually care for somebody on that level is beyond what most people are capable of.
Yeah.
And so if you don't have, care and things like that, then, it's up to the family. And then there's plenty of people who are in that situation,
Now, tell us again about if somebody wanted to purchase the painting, where will some of the proceeds be donated to and who would they contact?
So all the paintings are for sale, and they can contact either me or Tim Malik from the Bridgehampton Museum. The proceeds, portion of the proceeds, I think about maybe 10% of or so, would go to the Alzheimer's Foundation of America, the AFA, and we're having a screening on Saturday if you want to come then. If not, you can contact me. I'm sure you can give my contact info. But yeah, I mean, I'm not really here to sell them so much as to find good homes for them. You know what I mean? These are very personal works. So, if they speak to you, then, this might be something you'd like,
How about this? Why don't we take some time for questions?
Sure. Yeah, I'd love that.
Does anybody have any questions for John? Let's see. Alwinda says, do you experience the paintings differently since the production of the movie? Good question.
Yes, very much. So this has been 5 years since the release of the film, and these paintings have been in storage the whole time. So I haven't seen them since the film. And when I knew they were good and I liked, and I really had a lot of love for these paintings. But when I took them out here in the space and hung them with Tim Malik, I was pretty blown away actually at the power of these paintings. I mean, without tooting my own horn, I hadn't seen them since then, and they really, really struck me. So thank
No,
you.
and when you walk into the barn, this barn is quite large. So it's not an easy task to sort of not fill up, but make the barn really look dynamic. And when I walked in here, I was like, wow, these are paintings absolutely in their own right. Any other questions? Let's see.
Well, one comment would be what I found interesting was when you said the paintings were stored, it was sort of an allegory or an illustration of the memories stored in his mind and that he was locked away from them for a while, but then the memories or the paintings, images resurfaced in his mind. So it was a little bit symbolic of the disease itself.
I mean, there's so many ways to look at it. Honestly, I really just felt how, especially given my father's recent passing and everything, like there's been a full circle aspect of this, in a way, like, there's really I'm very, very grateful to Tom Dolby and the film production. Really, like 5 years later, this is one of my favorite films that I've done. And I just feel like it's a very powerful, very moving story. And I feel really connected to it. And these works really reminded me of that. And I'm very grateful.
And
Just
yeah,
quickly,
go ahead.
also, I just had a backup question was the cruelty that Dern portrays in the movie towards the wife, like it's as if he's forgotten all of her sacrifices when he said like you never really were or you never really tried. Um, that cruelty, is that an onset also of the disease itself because the way it affects?
It really is just exacerbating what some of Richard's character flaws naturally are. He's a bit of a narcissist. He's very self-centered. He's got a huge ego, but he's very loving. There's a lot of loving moments in the film as well, but he is pretty much a very self-centered person. And that was part of what the dynamic is, even aside from Richard's disease. Claire devoted herself to this man and put her career aside, which is very common for a lot of women. And so it's a story, really, it's a story about a woman who rediscovers herself, honestly.
Mhm. Any other, good point, Colleen, good question. Any other questions?
I saw a few things in chat.
Yeah, sure, let's go up there. Well, you can read the comments if you'd like. I'll read them. Rosemary says the reconciliation seems to have a woman at the top center. What? Yeah.
Are you talking about the accusation?
No,
Yeah.
I think she's talking about, well, I don't know. Which
I
one?
think it was the accusation.
That one? Yeah, it does almost look like a woman.
So it is. There is a reclining figure
Yeah,
there.
yeah, I thought so too.
Yeah, I did that on purpose. There is a sort of reclining figure here. And there is a sort of a witness up here. And this is really what this whole thing is about, is there's an accusation of the affair, basically.
Good point. And Still Alice was the movie. Thank you. That was the one about Alzheimer's. Nancy says helpful in so many ways. And Nancy says, this is amazing. I agree. Did you paint your works in sequential order of the movie and Richard's disease? Since condolences on your loss.
Thank you. So these were painted in batches. They were painted with like Richard's work, Claire's work, and then the combination of both their styles. And I did it to coincide with certain script moments, certain points, narrative points in the script. There's another painting which we didn't really talk about. It's around the corner. This is a small little sort of side work here. This is called The Storm. And this is a scene where Claire takes this painting back from the university that Richard was a professor at, where he gets dismissed due to an episode with a student. So this is called The Storm, and it is very indicative of the scene. The scene is about tension and conflict. And so I made this piece, which is heavily gestural, Richard, very dense, extremely close in terms of scale as well. And I did that really as a very strict adherence to the script point, where I knew that the scene was they were going to come, take a painting, and walk off with it. So I made a painting which, in my opinion, was more in line with what the emotional content of the scene had in it.
And just to be clear, he also was the production designer for the film itself. So tell us a little bit about that. What was your role in addition?
As the production designer, I had to create the entire visual look of the film, everything. The furniture, the execution, and the logistics of everything. I had a great art department. My set decorator, Trisha Peck, decorated with all mid-century modern furniture, like beautiful, beautiful pieces. I had an art director named Lily Teplan, and she helped me keep everything under control. And I had a great graphic designer. I had a great scenic arts department, because these paintings are only some of the paintings in the film. I had reproductions of established artist work like Robert Motherwell and Rothko and some other people that were supposed to play as set decoration. And I created these, fictitious, these fictitious pieces. And I also had, there was another gallery where there were these graffiti artists. I had graffiti, I had graffiti,
Hang on, just going to let someone in, excuse me. There we go.
I had graffiti artists. And then I had my art department just make all the conceptual art for Ada Lisi, played by Stephanie Powers. And then I had a video artist who was a friend of Tom Dolby, and we licensed his work for that. He made specific work for the show. So I had to put all that together. I had to actually even build a gallery as well. So I had to design a gallery space in a storefront in Riverhead. It was insane. The amount of work I had really was mind-boggling.
And how long did the entire process take you?
So I got hired in December, I think, of 2018 or 2019. I think 2018, December. And then we shot into 2019. I think I'm really remembering, but it took me a few weeks to do this. I think I'm remembering I did all these paintings in about 3 weeks.
What? Wait, what? Now I have a question. What vitamins do you take?
Yeah, it was called
Un-
stress and
Oh, my goodness.
nicotine.
Wow. There's nothing like a deadline to get you going.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Let's see
Joyce,
some
I
other,
had another question, if it's okay.
of course.
So I take care of my mom who has dementia, so I'm fascinated by this whole thing. So I'm wondering now that you've come to this point, and if it's too personal, it's okay. How is it helping you with your grief now that you're looking back through it? Is it challenging? Is it peaceful? If you could share, if that would be okay. And if
Sure,
not, that
absolutely.
would be okay. All right.
So the passing of my father really affected me a lot more than I thought it was going to in a very unexpected way. My sister and I cared for my father. My mother passed away 2 years ago, and since then, my father had declined significantly. And it got to the point where I was uh, really hoping he would pass peacefully as a relief. And then, when it finally happened, uh, I thought it was going to be somewhat of a relief and somewhat of like I had come to terms with my father, and everything. But then I had to put together his eulogy and all the photos for his funeral service. And it really got to me because I saw the man who I had lost a good while ago, and I was really grieving that loss more than anything else. And seeing him and talking about his life and who he was as a vibrant person, I realized that I missed that person more than the person who I was caring for. And so, that was hard. And then, putting this show together, I did feel a real connection to these pieces as a way of expressing that and processing it. So to answer your question, yes, it was really profound for me.
Maybe that's why
Thank you
the,
for sharing. Really, thank you for, it's really actually helpful for me or anybody else probably that's a caregiver.
Thank
But
you.
thank you so much. Thank you for sharing that. It's great.
I'm glad.
no, and I think that's what makes the paintings come across as so authentic because they really are coming from a place, a deep place of authenticity.
Rosemary
So,
has a
yeah,
question.
Rosemary, let's see, I think Rosemary put it in the chat. Would you discuss these pictures and create an online gallery with people able to have a forum about Alzheimer's and brain trauma?
So the catalog is actually on the website of the Bridgehampton Museum, and you can download that, as are all the images as well. But the catalog has descriptions of each of the paintings. It has my statement. It has a letter from Tom Dolby. And I encourage you all, if you're interested, to take a look at it. It's available online for free.
Yeah. And in terms of message boards, Rosemary or anybody else, I would suggest that you can go to either your local, there might be a local organization that addresses Alzheimer's, and then they could also put you in touch with online forums designed for families or people with Alzheimer's, okay? So that's something you can follow up. This might inspire you to seek that. Jody says, gorgeous works and how wonderful to hear they relate to the film. Absolutely. This was incredible, Anna says. Thank you for this intimate personal tour of your work. Very emotional and moving. Couldn't agree more. And condolences for your loss. And it is very kind of him. I agree. Thank you for sharing. I deeply appreciate your courage to share. That's true. Not everybody wants to expose their vulnerability, but in doing so, it really it really helps people, because then other people could say, I feel like that too. I'm not alone. Because sometimes these things you can have a sense of isolation. So, that's why I'm a fan of art. It unifies us. Judith, are we going to be able to see the movie in Prime in other countries? Can't find it in Prime from Spanish.
I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't have the answer to that, but I'm sure if you searched for that film, The Artist's Wife, you could probably find it. I wish I had the answer to that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it is it's not from Prime directly. It's like a subscription that Prime offers to the,
IFP?
yeah, I don't know, but if you, is that what it is?
I don't know.
Yeah. So you need to get the subscription to the independent film channel. Okay? You could also ask your library. Maybe
So-
they can help you.
Rosemary's got her hand raised.
No, I
Is that
think,
it?
no, I think that's just by default, right?
Okay.
Rosemary says, thank you.
Okay.
And your paintings are so good. They really tell a story. Thank you for sharing your experience of your father. I've had a similar experience, and seeing your paintings was comforting. That's
Oh.
from Judy. Rosemary said it also helps people affected in the pandemic. I'm not sure exactly. Any thoughts on that?
Well, my father and mother both declined during COVID.
Oh.
They really did. My father had lost his sight. He was losing his sight at that time, and then he became completely blind, and that really destroyed him. And they were very isolated. So yeah, I mean, older people during this time, it's really rough, man, honestly.
What is your father's name?
My father?
Yeah,
Ghazi.
maybe can we do this in honor of your dad?
Sure.
He must have been amazing, because
He was.
you're amazing, and your mom too.
My mom was
We know that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course. And yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Your parents would be so proud. Absolutely. And oh, come to Italy. We have someone from Italy.
Yeah, that's my friend Jody. So I studied at the academia. So she's my very close friend.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay, Jody, he's coming. Oh, and the name of the streaming service is Strand Releasing. Subscription to Strand Releasing, and they have a website. Okay. Oh, and both of us look like angels. What us? Or in the painting, hovering over a proverbial hospital bed. Okay. Okay, everybody, I'll tell you what. It is time to stop. So I want to give the biggest thank you
Thank you.
to John.
It was
And
an honor, really. Thank you
really,
so
and
much.
also, huh?
Thank you so much.
Oh,
Truly,
thank you.
truly.
And we do have a worldwide audience on here, which is wonderful. And thank you to the Pollock-Krasner House and Study Center, of course, for hosting the program, which I'm the education coordinator. And thank you to the Tractor Barn Museum and the Bridgehampton Museum. And they have a very small staff there, and they are able to do amazing things. So thank you to Connor and Tim, and of course to all of the people who worked on the film. And everybody have a wonderful day or afternoon. If you want to share this will be on my YouTube channel. You can go to Joyce Raimondo YouTube, and it will also be on the Bridgehampton Museum, and it might be also on the Pollock-Krasner social media, okay?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Joyce. It was a pleasure.
It's a
Really.
pleasure.
An honor. Thank you.